Introduction. You may think your faith is too small. You may feel unworthy or afraid. Maybe you've been told your whole life that you must be strong, that you must hold on to God with all you've got, or you'll be lost. But your salvation does not rest on the strength of your belief. It rests on the unshakable faithfulness of Jesus Christ. When you waver, He stands firm. When you fall, He carries you. When you have no words, His Spirit speaks for you. You are not clinging to Him with all your might. He is holding you with all His might. Chapter 1. The Myth of Self-Saving Faith. If you ask the average person what it takes to get right with God, or even just to be a good person, most will say something like, "You've got to work at it. You have to believe hard enough. You have to prove yourself." It's an idea so deeply woven into our thinking that we rarely question it. Life itself often works that way. You study hard to pass a test. You train hard to win a game. You hustle to keep your job. So naturally, we assume God works the same way. We think if I just believe hard enough, if I'm sincere enough, if I put in enough spiritual effort, I'll finally make it. It feels logical, but it's wrong. Faith is not a test. Here's something that may surprise you. Faith is not a test you must pass to qualify for God's love. Think about that for a moment. If God's love could be earned by believing hard enough, then it would be no different from a contest, and the prize would go to the person with the strongest willpower or the deepest certainty. That would leave most of us out in the cold, because if we're honest, our faith is often shaky. Faith, in its truest form, isn't about straining harder. It's about opening your hands to receive something that was already given before you even knew to ask. Something that was true before you knew it, before you ever believed. Christ had already united Himself to you in love. Before you ever prayed, He had already carried your humanity, your fears, your failures, your hopes, your very life, into the presence of the Father. That means you don't start a relationship with God by doing something impressive. You wake up to the reality that you've always been loved. It's like the sun. You didn't create it by opening your blinds. It was already there, warming the earth, shining on you. You simply turned to face it. Why the self-saving story fails. The self-saving story is exhausting because it puts all the pressure on you. It's like being in the middle of the ocean, miles from shore, and believing your survival depends on your ability to tread water indefinitely. The moment your muscles weaken, you sink. That's how many people experience religion, a constant effort to keep their heads above water. But the truth is far better. The God revealed in Jesus does not stand on the shore, arms crossed, waiting to see if you can make it. He dives in. He reaches you. He holds you up when you've stopped kicking. Your grip is weak. His grip is eternal. If you've ever been on a rock climbing wall or a rope course, you know the feeling of holding on until your fingers burn. Eventually, you let go. Your grip fails. In the same way, our emotional grip on God, our feelings of faith, our moments of certainty can slip. Life can shake us. A loss you didn't see coming. A mistake you can't undo. A question you can't answer. If our safety depended on how tightly we hold on, we'd all be lost. But here is the scandalous, freeing truth. It's not your grip that keeps you safe. It's His. And His grip never fails. This is the myth of self-saving faith. The belief that you must carry yourself to God through your own spiritual strength. It's a myth because God has already carried Himself to you. Before you ever reached for Him, He was holding you. Before you ever thought of Him, He had already thought of you. Before you ever loved Him, He had already loved you. And nothing, not doubt, not fear, not failure, can loosen His hold. Chapter 2. The God Who Comes to You. Most people imagine God as distant, high up, far away, out of reach, like a CEO locked away in the corner office, or a king in a castle who only sees the people when they've proven themselves worthy. If that's the picture in your mind, then your first thought is probably, I have to climb up to him. If I pray enough, if I clean up my life enough, if I believe hard enough, then maybe, just maybe, I'll get close, turning the picture upside down. But here's the heart of the Christian message, and it's unlike anything else in religion. You don't climb up to God. God comes down to you, not just in some symbolic way, not just in a dream or a feeling. Christ, God in human flesh, literally stepped into the human story. He didn't show up in a palace, far removed from life's dirt and pain. He came as a baby born in a backwater town, raised in a poor family, walking dusty roads with calloused feet. He laughed with friends, wept at funerals, ate meals with people society had written off. He came to us, not to hand out a checklist, but to give himself. The God who gets his hands dirty, think about it. The God who spoke galaxies into existence. Let himself be touched by lepers. Let himself be interrupted by beggars. Let himself be betrayed, mocked, beaten, and killed by the very people he came to save. Why? Because love doesn't stay at a safe distance. If someone you love is drowning, you don't shout instructions from the shore. You dive in. That's exactly what God did in Christ. Union, not just rescue. Here's something T.F. Torrance taught that can change how you see this entirely. Jesus didn't just come to help you like a lifeguard, pulling you out of the water and then leaving you on the beach. He came to join himself to you. When he took on our humanity, he carried it into his perfect relationship with the Father. He wrapped himself around us so tightly that nothing could ever separate us again. It's not just that he's with you. In a way we can barely comprehend, he has included you in his own life with God. Why this changes everything. If God comes to you instead of waiting for you to come to him, then your spiritual life is not about reaching up. It's about waking up to a reality that's already here. It means you can stop worrying about whether you've prayed the right way, felt the right emotions, or checked the right religious boxes. You are not climbing a ladder. You're standing on solid ground that has already been given to you. In other words, you don't find God by winning a race or passing a test. You discover that he has already been running toward you your whole life. The question is not, can I get to God? The real question is, will I let him meet me where I am? Chapter 3. Waking up to what's already true. When your alarm goes off in the morning, the world around you hasn't just appeared because you woke up. The room, the sunlight, the sound of birds outside, they were all there long before you opened your eyes. Faith works the same way. God's love, his presence, his commitment to you, all of it has been here, surrounding you, holding you, long before you became aware of it. Waking up to God isn't about creating something new. It's about seeing what's been real all along. The difference between earning and receiving. If you've ever worked for a paycheck, you know the feeling. You earn it. You put in the hours, you do the job, you deserve the money. That's how we're trained to think life works. And that's why it feels so unnatural to receive something you didn't earn. We tend to feel suspicious about it, like there's a catch. But love, real love, doesn't work like a paycheck. You can't clock in and out of it. You can't earn it one day and lose it the next. God's love is a gift, not a wage. And the only thing you can do with a gift is open it. Removing the blindfold. Imagine you've been walking through life with a blindfold on. You can hear voices, you can feel the wind, but you can't see the landscape around you. Then one day the blindfold is lifted. You didn't create the mountains or the sky. You simply became aware of them. This is what it's like to realize God has been here the whole time. You start to notice the small moments that point to something bigger, a stranger's kindness you can't explain, a deep peace in the middle of chaos, a quiet conviction that your life has meaning beyond what you can see, living in the light of this reality. When you wake up to what's already true, life starts to look different. You stop asking, "How do I get God to love me?" and start asking, "What does it mean to live in the light of His love?" You stop measuring yourself by your successes and failures because His faithfulness isn't tied to your performance. You stop thinking God is far away and start realizing He's in every breath, every step, every moment. This isn't about ignoring your struggles or pretending everything is fine. It's about knowing you face those struggles with someone who refuses to leave you, someone who has already joined himself to your story, the freedom to rest. When you understand that you're not trying to earn God's acceptance, something unexpected happens. You find rest. Not laziness, but rest. The kind where your soul finally takes a deep breath. The kind where you stop fearing you'll mess up so badly that God will walk away. The kind where you realize you can be honest about your doubts, your pain, your past, and still be completely embraced. This is the shift. Faith stops being a desperate climb to reach God. It becomes an awakening to the fact that He's already here, and He's not letting go. Chapter 4. When your faith feels weak. Everyone has moments when their confidence in life, themselves, or even God wavers. Maybe for you it's a season of unanswered prayers. Maybe it's a tragedy you can't make sense of. Maybe it's just the weariness of getting up every morning and wondering if anything will ever change. In those moments, faith can feel like a candle in the wind, flickering, fragile, ready to go out. And here's the hard truth. If your relationship with God depended on how strong your faith feels, you'd be in constant danger. But it doesn't. Faith is not measured by feelings. Think about a cloudy day. You can't see the sun. The light is dim. But the sun hasn't gone anywhere. It's just hidden from view. In the same way, God's presence isn't dependent on your ability to feel it. Your emotions might shift. Your certainty might waver. But His faithfulness stays exactly the same. When you can't hold on, picture a rock climber hanging high above the ground. Their arms are trembling, fingers slipping. They can't hold on much longer. Now, imagine a safety rope attached to their harness. Even if their grip fails, the rope catches them. That's what it's like to live in Christ's faithfulness. You're not holding yourself up. He's holding you. When your prayers feel empty, when your heart feels cold, when your mind is full of questions, the rope still holds. Because the rope is His love, not your effort. Even doubt is not the end. You might think doubt disqualifies you, but doubt is not the opposite of faith. It's often the soil where faith grows. God is not fragile. He doesn't panic when you ask hard questions. He doesn't cross His arms and say, "Come back when you've sorted yourself out." Instead, He meets you in the middle of the questions. He sits with you in the dark. He reminds you, in ways you may not even notice at the time, that He hasn't left. His grip, not yours. T.F. Torrance used to talk about how salvation rests on Christ's faith, not ours. That means you can be certain even when you feel uncertain. If you've ever carried a sleeping child, you know this. They're not holding on to you. You're holding them. They're safe because of your strength, not theirs. That's the picture of your life in God's hands. A quiet courage. When you realize you're not the one keeping the connection alive, something happens inside you. You get a quiet kind of courage. You know you can face the next day. Not because you feel strong, but because you know He's not letting go. You can pray even when you're not sure what to say. You can take the next step, even when the path is unclear. You can breathe and rest because the burden of holding on isn't yours. Here's the truth. Faith is not about never feeling weak. It's about knowing whose strength carries you when you are. Chapter 5. The freedom to live without fear. Most people carry an invisible weight. For some, it's the fear of not measuring up. For others, it's the fear of being found out, that if people saw the real you, they'd turn away. And for many, it's the fear that God is always watching with a critical eye, keeping score, waiting for you to slip. That kind of fear doesn't just make you anxious, it shrinks your life. You become cautious, guarded, always second-guessing yourself. You start living small because you're afraid of messing up big. But when you understand that God's love is not hanging by a thread, when you see that His acceptance doesn't rise and fall with your performance, something changes deep inside. You start to live free. The end of scorekeeping. Most of us live with a mental scoreboard. We track our good days and bad days, our wins and losses, our spiritual highs and lows. But the gospel, the good news, is that God tore down the scoreboard. When Christ joined Himself to us, He removed the fear of losing everything with one mistake. You're not performing for His approval. You're living out of the approval you already have. This isn't a license to stop caring about your choices. It's the freedom to stop obsessing over whether every choice will ruin everything. Fear keeps you in a cage. Imagine a bird in a cage with the door wide open. It's free to fly, but it stays put because it's lived so long behind bars. It can't imagine anything else. Fear works the same way. It convinces you to stay where it's safe, even when God has already opened the way. But life in Christ isn't meant to be a cautious existence. It's meant to be full, a life of love, risk, beauty, generosity, and courage. Bold, not reckless. Living without fear doesn't mean you throw wisdom out the window. It means you stop letting the fear of failure or rejection be the loudest voice in the room. You speak up for what's right, even if your voice shakes. You show kindness when it's easier to stay detached. You take the first step toward a dream that's been on your heart for years, because you know, truly know, that your worth doesn't depend on the outcome. The confidence of being held. When a child learns to walk, they often start by holding a parent's hand. They take wobbly steps, but the grip holding them steady gives them the courage to try. That's what life feels like when you know God's faithfulness is holding you. You can risk more, love more, forgive more, because you know you can't fall out of His care. From fear to joy. When the fear of losing God's love is gone, you make room for joy. Joy that isn't fragile or fleeting, because it's rooted in something unshakable. You begin to see the world not as a trap to avoid, but as a gift to explore. You start looking for ways to bless others instead of constantly worrying about yourself. You find yourself laughing more, loving more, living more. Here's the truth. Fear tries to keep you in chains, but perfect love, the kind God has shown in Christ, casts out fear and sets you free. You're not free from responsibility. You're free to live boldly, knowing you are safe in the one who holds you. Chapter 6. Love that flows through you. When you live in constant fear of losing God's approval, love becomes a transaction. You do good things so you'll be accepted. You help people so you'll feel worthy. You serve so you can keep your spot on God's good list. But when you discover you are already accepted, already loved, already held, love stops being a currency, and it starts becoming a current. It begins to flow naturally, from obligation to overflow. Think about the difference between pouring water from a cup that's nearly empty and pouring from one that's full and overflowing. When you're living on spiritual fumes, every act of love feels draining. You give, but you're left exhausted, worried you won't have enough for yourself. But when you know you are already secure in God's hands, you stop giving to earn something. You start giving because you already have everything you need. You don't have to protect your spiritual bank account. His faithfulness keeps it full. No pressure to perform. When love is just a performance, it's fragile. The moment it costs too much or gets too hard, you're tempted to quit. But real love, the kind that flows from knowing you're already held, isn't fragile. It doesn't collapse when it's inconvenient. It can listen to a hurting friend without rushing the conversation. Forgive someone who doesn't deserve it. Serve without needing applause. This kind of love has staying power because it's not propped up by your mood or circumstances. It's anchored in something eternal. T.F. Torrance's insight. Torrance often emphasized that our relationship with God is not a contract, it's a union. And in that union, Christ's love flows into us and then outward to others. It's like a branch connected to a vine. The branch doesn't strain to produce grapes. The life of the vine naturally produces fruit through it. When you live connected to Him, love is not something you force, it's something that happens. The quiet power of love. In a world obsessed with power, recognition, and winning, love might seem small, but it changes things in ways power never could. A single act of kindness can shift someone's day or their life. A moment of compassion can cut through years of bitterness. A steady presence can give someone the courage to keep going. Love is not weakness, it's strength that refuses to harm. Why it matters. If you truly believe you're secure in God's love, you can take the risk of loving people who may never love you back. You can forgive without keeping score. You can serve without worrying about whether you're being noticed, because your value doesn't depend on how they respond. It's rooted in the one who has already made you His. Here's the truth. When you live in the reality of being held by God's faithfulness, love stops being something you should do and starts becoming who you are. You become a living reminder to others of the same truth you've discovered. They are loved. They are seen. They are not alone. Chapter 7. A life you don't have to hold together. Some people live with the constant feeling that everything depends on them. If I don't keep everything under control, it will all fall apart. If I don't keep everyone happy, I'll lose the people I care about. If I'm not strong, no one else will be. It's exhausting. It's like juggling glass balls while walking a tightrope. You can't stop, you can't breathe, and you live in fear of dropping just one. The problem is, no matter how good you are at holding it all together, life has a way of handing you more than you can carry. The illusion of control. We like to believe we're in control, that if we just plan well enough, work hard enough, and anticipate every risk, we can avoid disaster. But deep down, we know the truth. Life is unpredictable. A single phone call, a sudden loss, an unexpected change, and the plans you've spent years building can come undone in a moment. Trying to hold life together with your own two hands will always end in exhaustion, because it was never meant to be your job in the first place. The hands that hold you. Here's the freedom the gospel offers. You are not the one holding life together. Colossians 1:17 says, "In Him all things hold together." That means it's Christ, not you, who is the center of gravity for the universe. It's His strength that carries the weight of the world, not yours. You're not a failure for feeling tired. You're not weak for admitting you can't do it all. You were never designed to. Letting go without falling apart. Letting go doesn't mean giving up responsibility. It means giving up the illusion that you can control outcomes. You still work hard, but you don't measure your worth by the results. You still love people, but you don't live in fear of their choices. You still plan for the future, but you don't panic when things change. Letting go feels scary at first, like loosening your grip on the steering wheel. But you start to realize you've been a passenger all along. T.F. Torrance's picture of rest. Torrance often spoke of our life being in Christ, meaning we are not separate from Him, scrambling to manage life on our own. We are joined to him in such a way that his peace, his stability, his unshakable relationship with the Father, all of it becomes the foundation beneath us. When you know you are in him, you can rest even in the middle of chaos. It's like being in the eye of a storm. The winds still roar, but you are held in a calm that can't be touched. Living light. When you stop trying to hold the whole world together, your hands are free. Free to hold the things that actually matter. A friend's hand, a child's laugh, a moment of beauty you might have missed if you were still chasing control. Free to pour yourself into what lasts, instead of trying to micromanage what you can't keep. Here's the truth. You don't have to keep life from falling apart, because you are held by the one who never does. And when you live from that place, you can breathe, you can rest, you can finally stop bracing for impact and start living. Chapter 8. Peace in the middle of the storm. Storms have a way of showing up uninvited. Sometimes they come in the form of a diagnosis. Sometimes it's the loss of a job. Sometimes it's a relationship you thought would last forever, suddenly breaking apart. Whatever the storm looks like, it has the same effect. It shakes you. The winds of fear, doubt, and uncertainty start pounding against your mind, and you wonder if you'll be able to stand. Peace doesn't mean the storm stops. Most people think peace means everything around you has to be calm. But if that's the case, you'll be waiting a long time, because life has no shortage of storms. The peace Jesus offers is different. It's not the absence of trouble. It's the presence of someone greater than the trouble. In John 14:27, he says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives." That means the peace he gives isn't fragile. It's not based on whether the sky is blue or the waters are calm. It's the kind of peace that can sit steady in the middle of the chaos. The eye of the storm. If you've ever seen footage of a hurricane, you know that in the center, the eye, everything is strangely still. The winds are raging all around, but in that one place, there is calm. Living in union with Christ is like living in the eye of the storm. The circumstances may roar, but you are held in a center that cannot be moved. The world might be shaking, but you are connected to someone unshakable. TF. Torrance's perspective on Peace Torrance described Christ's life as our anchor in the holy place, meaning our security and stability come from the fact that Jesus himself is in the presence of the Father, holding us in that relationship. We don't create peace by trying harder to be calm. We receive peace because the one who holds us is already at peace with the Father, and nothing can disrupt that. Practical peace in daily life. Peace in the storm isn't just a nice idea. It changes how you live day to day. It means you don't have to make every decision in panic mode. You can listen to people instead of reacting in fear. You can rest at night without replaying every what if in your head. It's not denial. You still feel the wind, you still hear the thunder, but you also know the storm doesn't have the final word. A picture to remember. Imagine you're on a small boat in rough seas. The waves are high, the wind is fierce, and it feels like the whole boat could tip. Now imagine a strong hand on your shoulder, and a voice saying, "I'm here. I'm not leaving. This storm will not swallow you." That's the peace Christ gives. It's not about getting you out of the storm instantly. It's about keeping you steady until the storm passes. Here's the truth. Peace is not found in calmer weather. It's found in the one who is with you in the storm, the one who commands the wind and the waves, and who will never let go of you. Conclusion. Held to the end. If you've made it this far, you've probably noticed something. This whole journey, from the first chapter to now, hasn't been about you trying harder, believing harder, or proving yourself to God. It's been about learning to see what has been true all along.